Viewer discretion advised. This episode contains strong language, adult themes, potentially frightening content. Listener discretion is strongly advised. All content is for entertainment purposes only. Any true crime or historic information discussed is publicly available online. There are places built to hold the forgotten, the broken, the ones the world wanted to hide. But what happens when they never truly leave? Tonight we step onto Blackwell Island, where the past isn't just remembered, it's trapped.
Once home to asylums, prisons, and suffering that stretched for decades, Blackwell Island has seen more pain than most places dare to speak of. And now people claim that pain still lingers.
Footsteps into empty hallways, whispered, carried over water, shadows that don't belong to live in. If you listen closely, you might hear them calling.
Before we take you deeper into the darkness, we've got something to keep you grounded.
This episode is sponsored by Tona Activewear, designer gym leggings.
Head over to toneactive.com, use our discount code HOST to get 16% off your order.
Because if something starts following you, you won't want to slow down.
Watch the shadows.
And whatever you do,
Don't answer when they call your name. Okay.
Oh, you think you got away?
She faked insanity to get herself locked in an asylum. Nellie Bly, Irish-American journalist, age 23, practiced acting crazy in front of a mirror for days, stopped bathing, stopped sleeping, then checked into a boarding house and started screaming at midnight. Doctors examined her for 10 minutes and declared her violently insane, locked her in Blackwell's Island asylum, 10 days inside watching women beaten with wet towels, dragged by their hair, fed rotting food. Some women weren't actually insane, just poor immigrants whose husbands wanted them gone. Nellie took notes, hid them in her dress, published everything. The asylum was investigated, staff fired, conditions improved. She was 23 years old and changed the American mental health system by faking insanity. Drop Irish name, follow.
tonight, let's deep dive into Blackwell's history a little bit. 1830s to 1860s, the city government erected a penitentiary on the island, which opened August 3rd, 1830. There were proposals to construct a canal split male and female prisoners through the canal was not built. An unknown architect did build a separate building for female prisoners on this island. The island's prison population already numbered in the hundreds by 1838, where there are only 24 staff members. So 24 guard people for hundreds of people. By 18, sorry, I keep saying 1839, the New York City Lunatic Asylum opened, including the tower. The asylum had two wings made of local quarry. At one point, held 1,700
Mhm.
inmates, twice its design capacity. So these people were pretty much stacked on top of each other. Prisoners frequently tried to swim away from the island. Almhouses, which is also known as a poorhouse, was constructed on that island in 1847. So far, we had a lunatic asylum, a poorhouse, and a prison. Other hospitals were soon developed too on this island, including a 600-bed prison hospital that was finished in 1849. Thomas Kirkbride, who don't come for me if I said that wrong, who oversaw some of the island's hospitals, described the island as having fallen into degradation and neglect by 1848. So several years
So
after,
is it kind of like the Alcatraz?
kind of, but it's just like an island on the like in between the city and that. So you have to take a ferry back in the day to get there. Now they have carts to get there.
Yeah.
But it's basically this island was set up to house everybody the city didn't want, from
Hmm.
prisoners to poor people to children
That's just sad. That's
to
not
sick people.
okay.
It's
Yeah,
not. This
it's
gets
really
bad.
not.
It gets bad.
Wow. So, a workhouse was built on the island in 1852, followed by the smallpox hospital in 1856. The asylum burned down in 1858 and was rebuilt on the same site. That's creepy. And the prison hospital was destroyed in the same fire. Two pipes provided fresh water from the, what is that?
Croton or something? Aqueduct?
Croton. Don't, yeah, okay, that's cool. Um, to the island by 1860. So they had fresh water to the island by 1860, and maps indicated that Blackwell's Island had two reservoirs as
Yeah.
well. What is that?
A reservoir is like we have them up here still. It's water that's been collecting and stuff like that. That is like a big well, a ground like above ground well,
Oh,
basically.
cool. Um, that's cool. The prison hospital was replaced with City Hospital, later known as Charity Hospital, which was completed in 1861 and served both prisoners and New York City's poorer population. A hospital for
Curables.
incurables followed in 1866.
That's horrible. Like this island was basically for the destitute or people they just didn't want in their society at that time.
That's stupid.
So,
Like,
think about
oh,
that, like, all these people and some of these house okay, it's only a few of them that remain to this day, now it's multi-million dollar condos and stuff on the island, but there's still the one actually uses the original octagon in their building, and then the old building still stands there that people gawk
mhm.
at and think it's beautiful for some reason. Now, from the 1870s to 1890s, prisoners built the Blackwell Island Light. Prisoners built this. On the island's northern tip in 1872. In 1877, the hospital opened a school of nursing, the fourth such training institution in the nation.
Dang. On the island?
Yeah, this island had a lot, but like I said, it was more destitute. But
So, in late 19th century editions of the Appletown's Dictionary of New York described Blackwell's Island's penitentiary as having a feudal character. Conditions in some of the hospitals declined significantly enough that the island as a whole gained a poor reputation. The women's hospital on the island was completed in 1881. Inmates from the smallpox hospital were moved to North Brother Island in 1885, and the smallpox hospital building became a nurses' training school and dormitory. In addition, a male's nurses' training school opened in 1887 and operated for 16 years. The
yeah.
Chapel of the Good Shepherd opened on the island in 1889.
The Strickler Memorial Laboratory was constructed in 1892 for the city's hospital. The next year, the city began sending typhoid patients to the island. During the decade, city officials found the poorhouse and the city's hospital it was
Mhm.
overcrowded. It was falling apart. It was really bad. And we had healthy people along with sick people like, in the same buildings. It was really bad. A grand jury declared the women's asylum a disgrace to New York
Yeah.
City. The asylum's inmates were transferred to Ward's Island, which was no better, in the mid-1890s. And Ward Island Homeopathic Hospital relocated to Blackwell's Island. It's kinda switched it off there.
Hmm.
Became in the like a hospital. A proposal to build a power plant on the island in 1895 was unsuccessful. And the city began planning to expand the island's prisons the next year. Work began on new structures for the city's hospital and the poorhouse in 1897, and 11 new poorhouses buildings opened in October. There were also plans to add 8 pavilions to the island's infants hospital. You heard that right. Along with the mental lunatic asylum,
No,
the
no,
prison,
no.
the criminally insane, the smallpox, the typhoid. We also had a orphanage on this island. The
Wow.
prison's hospital burned down in 1899. At the end of the century, the island housed 7,000 people across 7 institutions.
That's nuts.
Yeah, it's bad. This place was, like, really bad.
Like, this is horrible.
And yet again, it gets worse as we go on.
Oh my gosh. By the 20th century, Blackwell's Island had received the nickname of Farewell Island because of its connections. Oh, whatever.
Yeah,
Connotations with fear and despair. And it was also known as simply the island. At the time, the island contained a poorhouse, the city jail, and several hospitals. The United States Department of the Navy proposed a drill ground and training facility at Blackwell's Island's northern end in 1901, although city officials opposed it. Ooh.
they did.
The following year, there was a proposal to turn the island over to federal government and raise many of the existing structures. So, like,
They
erase
started
it, like,
yeah, like it never happened.
oh, wow. The city's controller was also against the plan. Other proposals for the island in the first decade of the 20th century included new tuberculosis hospitals, additional, what is that, houses?
Poor poorhouses.
Oh, and electric power plant and general hospitals. A tuberculosis ward at Metropolitan Hospital opened on the island in 1902, followed by an expanded nurses' school the next year. By the mid 1900s, the Louisville Courier Journal called the island the world's best guarded prison. And the New York Tribune described the island as unsanitary. So that's like two different people are like,
Yep,
oh
they're
my gosh.
clashing. Yep,
The city's controller recommended the construction of a new hospital, oh my gosh, to alleviate the poor conditions. Wow.
it's a proposal to convert the island to a park resurfaced in 1907. By the end of the decade, thousands of elderly residents voluntarily traveled to the island for vacations every year. The island's prisoners manufactured goods for the city, such as beds, brushes, and clothes. And the Russell Sage Foundation set up a short lived pathology institute on the island in 1907. The Queensboro Bridge crossing Blackwell's Island opened in 1909, but it did not provide direct access to the island until the late 1910s. In addition, in the early 1910s, 7 buildings were added on the island and like more hospitals and stuff. And a Catholic chapel was developed on the island too. City Correction Commissioner Kathleen Davis announced plans to construct a prison hospital on the island in 1915. There was very little vacant land, to tell the truth, by this time.
That's just, they like
Yeah.
put it all, like, there was no, man,
Wait
you
till you hear
don't
about
do that.
we still have people buried there that just have numbers. Yeah, it's
And we're getting further and further into this.
yeah.
By the 1910s, 25,000 prisoners passed through the island's jail annually, and Mayor William J.
Gaynor.
Okay, I didn't want to butcher that. Proposed shutting the jail. There was also proposals to move the penitentiary to Hart Island freeing up Blackwell's Island for hospitals and charitable institutions. The city's deputy correction coordinator, or yeah, called the island's penitentiary unfit for pigs in a 1914 report criticizing the unsanitary and overcrowded conditions. And a grand jury investigation the same year found that the jail was severely mismanaged. Blackwell's Island Penitentiary was negatively affecting the reputation of the island's other facilities to the point where a renaming of the island was under discussion. The women's penitentiary underwent reforms during the mid 1910s, and some prisoners were sent off to the island to other sent off the island to other jails. Bird S. Is it Collar?
I think.
Ordered that the island's buildings be refurbished after he became the city's public welfare commissioner in 1918.
Yeah, I mean, and then we didn't even go over, it's not gonna be in this, but if y'all wanna look up Nellie, that was her pen name, she did an expose on this island, and it will shock you with the lunatic asylum for
Yes.
women, what she uncovered. It was very bad.
We should do like a part 2.
And do the 10 it's actually called
Yeah.
10 Days in a Madhouse, and
Yes.
it's sad, it's sickening. And
Yeah.
this like, it gets worse. In 1921, the city began using Blackwell's penitentiary to detain women who were waiting trial. The island's prison hospital was severely understaffed, and the prison was described as a disgrace to the city of New York. That April, the New York City Board of Aldermen renamed Blackwell's Island to Welfare Island. The aldermen hoped the new name would improve the island's reputation. What the? Through the United States Board of Geographic Names did not recognize the name change for 4 decades. The state's prison commission, they were like, what? They're like,
I know.
like, seriously? The state's
Oh,
prison commission recommended converting the island to the park and like demolishing it, just make it a park in 1924. And the city
your
began
best
planning. I know, right? Planning to move Welfare Island inmates to a new jail complex of Rikers Island. So Rikers Island was better than this
Rikers.
island.
Yeah,
That should tell you a
wow.
lot. By
I've heard
then,
of Rikers
yeah, if
Island.
Rikers Island's better than this island, something's wrong.
I know.
By then, I hate to keep using this name, but this is what it was called until the recent name change. By then, the Welfare Island Penitentiary lacked plumbing. It didn't have plumbing, guys. Had
Gross.
rat infestation, like big rats, and it kept catching on fire. The prison's hospital was so overcrowded that ill inmates had to retreat and be treated in their cells. Prison staff were poorly compensated, and the prison received little to no maintenance over the years.
Well, yeah, I mean, like,
Ew.
how are you supposed to get, you're supposed to have all that at facilities so no one has to travel if you're on an island. Like, come on, guys. Be smarter.
Yeah, I mean, they could have done so much more with this anyway.
But a chapel was dedicated on the island in 1925, followed by a synagogue in 1926. The city government also expanded the island's Cancer Institute in the 1920s. The State Department of Correction described the island in the early 1930s as absolutely unsuitable for the purpose for which it is now used. The Board of Estimate rezoned the island in 1933 to allow redevelopment. Mm-mm-mm. At the time, officials were planning a children's hospital and nurses' dormitory on the island. Municipal Prison Commissioner Austin McCormick reformed the island's prison in 1934, following a series of uprisings. By then, the old whorehouse, the city, well, I guess called the city home, was so overcrowded that patients were being housed in abandoned portions of the lunatic asylum.
Yeah.
Well, oh, because it wasn't, was it abandoned or something?
I think it was closed down by this time. Or
Oh,
in
okay.
hospital. Yeah, it was bad.
Hmm. So, Welfare Island's jail was scheduled to be relocated, and City Parks Commissioner Robert Moses proposed converting the jail site to a public park. A city committee, a city committee, I'm sorry. Oh, instead recommended a plan by City Hospital Commissioner S.S. Goldwater, who proposed expanding the island's hospital facilities. But I thought the
After
whole island was already like,
it was, they were started
yeah,
demolishing at this point to rebuild other things.
goodness gracious.
After the Riker Island jail complex opened, workers demolished the Welfare Island jail, so that was taken down, and all inmates have been relocated February 1936. The city announced plans for a chronic care hospital complex in 1936. When the Welfare Island Hospital for Chronic Disease, later Goldwater Memorial Hospital, opened in July 1939, the Central Neurologic Hospital closed. An 8-building camp was also opened in 1939. Now, we don't really have to go over the later years because it's just going to combine like what they
Yeah.
tore down, but I want to go over one thing that this don't really discuss, and it was something called orphan trains back in the 1800s, where they took these orphans, put them on trains, and spread them throughout the United States for people to adopt. Most of these kids ended up different last names. So we have over, I guess,
Mm-mm.
2 million people that don't know their last name because they can't get their family's history. Like, they changed these kids' names. That
That's
was one thing. Yeah, and what started as a good idea ended up actually being really bad for these kids because some of these kids went from this really bad place, by the way, this hospital that was also housed with a lunatic asylum, criminally
mhm.
insane. These kids went from that to getting mostly, I hate to say this, beat, were overworked on farms 18 hours a day. They were used as, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So this place really had hell wrapped up on this island,
it
and
did.
people it really did, and, like, one woman, like, she said she was put there for just I can't explain it, like, these women were put in these places
Yeah,
for just being who we are now, like,
that's
outspoken and had their own so just imagine being a sane person going into a place like this on an island.
that's
And
nuts.
never it is, you would actually, I think, leave more insane than when you got there. But
True
that is
that.
this is Blackwell's Island, also known as Welfare Island. Nowadays, we know it as Roosevelt Island, which these some of these buildings, like I said, I think one really still remains and the octagon remains to the other one. But most of this history was erased. Yeah.
Yes, I remember that. I read that. Oh my gosh. I
They
can't
can
believe it.
they can erase it all they want. The history's still there. They treated people so inhumanely.
Yeah, like you can't cover it up. It's gonna
No.
come out eventually.
Yeah, like,
It's just like you can't hide a body. It's gonna come out eventually. I didn't say
talking
that
about
out loud, but yes.
talking about bodies, there is another island in New York we will discuss on another day that is all bodies. And,
Yeah.
well, I'm not talking graveyards, I'm talking big ditches. They literally lay people in and
Yeah.
cover it up, then lay people in. Basically, they're layering people on this island.
That
So, we
mhm.
definitely discuss Dead Man's Island.
Yes. I wanna get more into the reporter though that went,
Yes, that did the
um
expose in the 1800s.
yeah, because she made her like she made people believe she was crazy so she could get in there.
Yeah. And then she started, like, being sane and talking like we're talking now, and they still
Mhm.
wouldn't let her out. It took a lawyer to come in, but, like, "She's part of the newspaper, you gotta let her out." It took that 10 days later.
I feel like they made a movie about that.
They did, they made it, I know they made several short films, I think they made one actual movie on that one, but it's all true, like, her
Mhm.
recollection of cold ice baths, women just sitting there staring off a space, widows, they just lost their husband, were sitting there for months, like, no doctors in sight. Like, it was a horrible place. It really was. Can you imagine the feel of that island
No.
back in the
Prob-
early 1900s?
Probably very depressing.
Your ride there was on a ferry, and most times you did not leave that island. You were there as a lunatic, you were there as a prisoner, an orphan, or just somebody who couldn't afford life, a poorhouse. So, that being
That's
said, I
yeah.
know that's Blackwell's Island, also known as today as Roosevelt Island. Thank you all for tuning in. Blessed be. Love y'all.
Bye.
Bye.